Actually, what makes me come here today to you is my passion about the STEM. I am from a background engineering, and I have an experience in teaching math. I'm doing a lot of studies about the STEM. I did my master's degree in science education, specialized in STEM, and currently I'm doing my PhD in the same field. So basically today we are going to talk about planning for the STEM. It will be promising you that it will be an enjoyable one, and it will be direct to the point. So the plan for today, we are going to talk about why STEM, implementation, the best way to teach it, how to plan an activity or project for STEM, things that we need to consider while planning, and when theory comes to practice. So I'm going to show you some of our students' projects. So why STEM? Actually, STEM in UAE here, they have a vision that they want to shift from the dependence on oil to the knowledge-based economy. Based on that, they thought that the best way to start from is from the education. And they said that they need to start even with lower grade students in order to prepare them for jobs in the future. After that, there is a policy called UAE Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. This had been launched in November 2015. In this policy, they stated one of the aims that they want to increase the STEM talents within the Emirati students. After that, we have the Vision 2021 that talk that they want UAE to be one of the best countries in TEMS and PISA, while TEMS and PISA all related to real life world problems. So the problem is about the STEM and about the implementation. STEM have been used as marketing in many companies, and we all around the school are seeing this every day. And the implementation of STEM is also a challenge for most of educators. So questions have been raised. What content should we select to teach the STEM? How can we teach it? And from where should we start? So before going to the implementation of STEM, let's take a brief about the STEM. I love this theory of STEM. It's based on Professor Sufyan Fourawi, the Associate Professor of Science Education in the British University in Dubai. He represents these two models, the daisy flower and the rose flower. The daisy flower representing the separate subjects, the petals are away from each other. The student is standing in the middle. The student has the effort, want to connect between the subjects. Sometimes the students can do it, sometimes they fail to do that. While the rose model is an intertwined petals, while all the subjects are connected very well together to form a real life application that the students are engaged in and want to solve. So the STEM simply is an integration, but it's not an integration between contents only, it's integration between the contents and the 21st century skills. We have different ways of teaching STEM. This is based on Dagger and Fellow. They state that we have the first way, the second way, and the third way. If you notice here, in these ways, we found something. Sorry for the interruption of the presentation. The first way here, if you notice that we have all the letters of the STEM are capital letters. And the second way, we have 2 capital letters and 2 small letters. The third way, we have 1 at the top and the 3 subjects are at the bottom. The first one represents the multidisciplinary approach. We have it in most of our separate subjects. We have the Go Math in the mathematics. We have the the books in the science. All of them have doing cross-curricular link, even the English subjects. But there is no strong integration between them. The second one, there is focus on the math and the technology subjects to form a project, while there is less focus on the science and the engineering concepts. The third one, I have a course about an engineering like robotics or like graphic design in art. And within this course, I am teaching all the subjects in order to solve problems or to guide my students to do a real life project. So we have here 3 different ways. Now we are going to talk how can we implement these ways. Researchers stated that the best way to teach it, of course, is the third way because it's more related to the real life and more higher order thinking development. So me, Professor Sufyan Fourawi and Dr. Mansour, we did this framework. It has been published in the International Routledge of Teaching Thinking. We stated that the problem-based learning as a strategy or as a teaching strategy is the best way to teach STEM. This is because it cut across 3 types of learning. In each type of learning, there is some skills that the students develop within the classroom. So for example, we have the cognitive learning. The students are developing their critical thinking skills, their creativity and innovation. In the content learning, they can do the connection between the subjects, even they can connect what they have learned to real life application. They can use the technology as a tool. For the collaborative learning, they develop the communication skills between each other while giving feedback and while self-assessing their work. They can be self-directed learners. So this all will lead to the higher order thinking skills. Now we talked about the STEM the different ways. We talk about the framework. Now we want to talk about the problem. When we talk about the problem, we have 3 important elements. We have the real world problem, we have the teacher, and we have the students. So these are the 3 important elements that I need to think about while I'm thinking about the problem-based learning. We have this based on Barrow's problem-based learning taxonomy. The vertical line here in this graph is representing the self-direction or the direction of the problem, if it will be teacher-directed or it will be student-directed. The horizontal line represents the structure of the problem between the well-structured and the ill-structured. And in the middle, you will find 3 main categories. The first one is talking about the lecture-based. This is in our classroom. We have the problem solvings by the last lesson in each chapter in mathematics, the problem solving that we solve with the students, or some of the problem solving embedded within the science curriculum. The second category is the project-based learning, and the third one is the pure problem-based learning. There are differences between them. The first one is totally well-structured problem. We have only one hidden element that the students need to figure it out, and it's all teacher-directed. The second category, it's partially between student-led, teacher-led, and between well-structured problem and ill-structured problem. While the third one, it's pure ill-structured problem, and it's totally students-led. So let's make them layers. Let's put the stems or the wave stems that we know on these problems and see where are they. So here are they. The first one, which is the lecture-based in the separate subjects classes, when we do some cross-curricular link, we have this STEM, the first way of the STEM, which are all capital letters. The second one, it's the project-based learning. We go to higher category, and we have 2 subjects that we give them the focus. We make a project, and we embed the rest of the subjects within it. And the last one, which is the higher level, and mostly we found it even in the elective courses, in the AP courses, we found the last category of the STEM. So this is like short definition about the STEM and the problem-based learning. Where can we find it here? So now we are going to talk about the implementation of the STEM in ElSavary private school. So we have categorized them into 3. The first category, it's the phase 2, which is from grade 1 basically till 4, and it is lecture-based, and we follow this way. The reason for that we have in grade 1 to 4 homeroom teachers who are teaching STEM subjects, and they are able to connect between the contents of the subject. They are able to select the topics that are serving the project that they want to do with their students. And because also the students are still young, little bit in order to be self-directed. However, I'm not with this, I'm against that, but we can say that it's the first step toward being self-directed learners. The second way, which is from grade 5 to 8, while we start the segregation between the boys and girls, we found some behavioral problems, so we put for them the project-based learning in order to be motivated and engaged in learning. And we make it like 1 project per semester, and it was basically in math class. We have some integration from technology, from science, and from engineering. And the last way, it is the problem-based learning, and it is from grade 9 to 12, basically, and it's all about elective courses like that. We have the robotics, we have the graphic design, electronic design, engineering design, and the projects are a part of their learning while the problems are digging deeply within each project. So how to plan a STEM activity or a project? First of all, the collaboration is something very important in order to conduct a project or to design a project of STEM. We have to collaborate as departments to sit together in one table, to divide a paper into 4 parts, put a theme on that, in the middle, and try each subject to think about the content for this theme. The science, for example, I have in the middle, I'm going to put the smart city. We want Dubai to be a smart city. So from the science perspective, what things do I have to consider to put it here? I can think about the weather, I can think about humidity, about the resources available, about anything can be serving in this theme. The technology, I have to think about what am I going to use. Am I going to use AutoCAD software? I'm going to use Blender, Photoshop, 3D Max, so I put it as content or topics here. From the math perspective, the same, the engineering perspective, the same. But again, when we talk about it, sometimes we are overwhelmed when we start our academic year. We don't have the time to sit and to collaborate. And sometimes we think that STEM is having like, we don't give it a time for teaching, so we don't give it a focus for planning. What makes it easy to have some of the websites that we use, like for example, the website Rubicon Atlas, we use it for the curriculum design, so we can through it can go and check all the contents vertically and horizontally across the subjects. But again, the collaboration is something important that we need to sit again and to finalize everything. Again, the problem is what theme that we should select or what content that we need to put. We have open things and we have different perspectives as departments. So in order to select theme, and we say that our students are doing innovation or innovative projects, so we need to link this to the vision of the country. When they launched the policy, the STI policy, they put some important themes in this policy. Like for example, to focus about the smart city, the transportation, the health, the education, the robotics. So based on that, we select these themes and put it in the middle here and try to design our projects around this. Why? Because these students are going to do something which is really meaningful. It will serve their community and their country. So they will find that they are doing something really important, and as well it will be innovative project that will serve the country. Okay. Again, how to plan for the STEM? Let's go one step forward about it. So we need to think about the backward design. STEM is like any other curriculum, like the science, the math, the technology, any other curriculum can be designed by the backward design. I have to find the desired outcomes. I need to think about my standards and then think about the assessment. I design the assessment based on the standards, then I start to put my instructional activities. I need to be sure that my students are engaged in the design process. It's important to have consider their interest. So basically when we do that, we ask, for example, I have a classroom out of 20 students. I ask each student to make a list of questions out of 5 below one theme of bridge construction. So think about 5 important questions to write about bridge construction. After they did it individually, I asked the students to sit in groups out of 4. So these 4 students are going to have 20 questions. I ask them finalize these questions into 5 questions only. Then I will be having 5 groups with 5 questions. So basically I'll be having 25 questions. I put it on the board with the students and start to finalize these questions to be 2, 3, or 4 questions only for the whole class. So I built the project that I want, or I designed the project that I want based on their interests. So they will be more motivated to be engaged in this project. I need to read across the subject vertically and horizontally. So if I'm talking about a project in grade 7, so I need to think about grade 6 and 5 contents across all subjects and about grade 8. So by that, I will be considering what content students have been covered in previous years and what they can go beyond what they have learned. And to be realistic, and to be more effective for the projects, don't ever give the students new contents in the 4 subjects in this project at the same time. It will never work. They will feel panic and they will feel that they don't know what to do. And something which is really important is we need to build on what they have learned. So we need to select most of the contents. That's something they have learned and they have finished. And then start to give them 1 or 2 concepts maximum which are new and to go beyond them. So they will be having something meaningful when they used what they have learned and transfer it into new situations. Then we need to brainstorm about the activities and finalize it to 2 or 3 essential questions and design the instructional activities or the daily activities accordingly. So we have several things that we need to consider about designing the STEM projects. We need to think about the problem as we introduce it now. That is it a well-structured problem, ill-structured? Is it a teacher-led or a student-led? So this is something important I have to consider while I'm designing the project or the curriculum. I need to be sure that my students are engaged in the engineering design process. They need to ask, they need to define what is the problem, what are the constraints. They need to imagine and to brainstorm the solution. They need to plan. They need to put more than a plan. Maybe plan A will not work, so they have another plan to follow. They need to put it into action and then to improve their work whenever needed. So this a process, actually, it is continuous cycle that they go through it and they fail and then they come up and finish their work again, and they became more motivated and they used to learn from failure all the time. My students should be involved in hands-on inquiry and exploration. The types of questions that I give to my students is very important. I have to start with them usually by what, the reason for that. It's what is not like how. What is an open-ended question. When I give them a question with what, he doesn't know or she doesn't know if the answer is right or wrong. So they need to explore, they need to search in order to know where is the right answer. In that time, the students are thinking divergently, and I'm open for them the door for the creative thinking. After we finish the what, I have to take them to the how. Now they know where is the route that they need to follow. They have to think convergently again and to try to find what they have to do. After that, I need to expand it to what if. What if I change that and put something else? So basically, it's like the roller coaster with the thinking. I go with the what, define the problem. They go, they recognize the problem. They go divergently, which is the higher level, and then they go convergently again when they define the problem or identify it, generate ideas. They go divergently, and then make decision-making. They go convergently again. They have to be involved in productive team. Collaboration is very important for the students. As Vygotsky said, that the students are learning from each other more than they are learning from the adults. So maybe one student have a small idea, but when they are two thinking together, they have bigger idea. When they are group, they have the biggest idea to present. Evaluate, reflect, and improve. This is the most important part. This is the time of evaluating the projects. I have to evaluate my project. I have to evaluate my peers' project as well and find, is it an outstanding project? So it's time to reflect. So I need to reflect on my project. If there is a problem in my project, so it's time to improve, I have to stop and see where are my mistakes and try to improve it. And again, after I improve my project, I have to reflect. I love this quote of John Dewey, the father of critical thinking. He said that we don't learn from the experience, but we learn from reflecting on our experience. We have a major mistake in teaching and learning around the schools, that the teachers think, okay, we have the content, we give the student the content, we let them to be engaged in activities, then we put the assessment, then we are done, go to the next content. And this is really a big problem. Because once we finish the assessment and we give the students written feedback or a verbal feedback, this is the best time to build on students' creativity. This is the best time to transfer the students to the higher order of thinking and transfer what they have learned into new situations in the real life. And again, connection between the subject, the student should be able to go back and forth between the subjects and try to connect between the contents. The thing that I want to add here is adding art to STEM. We hear STEM, we hear STEAM, we hear STREAM, but what are these? Why they add art? I'm not going actually to talk about the STREAM, I'm going to talk about the STEAM only and briefly will not go in details. Adding art to STEM actually is sparking the interplay between divergence and convergence thinking. Basically, STEM and art have opposite characters. STEM used to be an objective, logical, analytical, useful, reproducible, while arts are subjective, imaginative, sensual, unique, frivolous. So if we talk about the neuroscience perspective, we will find that the STEM subjects are going in the left brain function that talk about the analytical thoughts, about the logic, science, math, language, while the art part going to the right side of the brain that talk about the imaginative, the holistic thinking, the art, the music, visual performing art generally. So this is why we add art to STEM. So together, we have moved from the interdisciplinary to the transdisciplinary, which is the more or the higher level of integration. And it's an integration between, again, the skills and the contents. So this is the nice part for me when theory comes to practice. This is our students' work. We have a project about fly a jumbo jet. I will go quickly about the design of the projects. We introduce for them the aeroplane parts and how the aeroplanes can fly. We give them worksheets about it. They have an activity how to fly an aeroplane. Then we have their projects. And their projects are not only models. We have the reflection is the most important part for the students. And the reflection could be in different ways. They have the option even to find the way that they want to reflect on. And giving them the option to reflect or to find a way to reflect is like they are trying to do their best and finding it out from their strength. So they can reflect using the journals, using presentations, using any kind of technology. So it's up to them, even if they want to stand and speak. I have a talent to do it as a student, so I can do it. Journey to the Moon, we give them a project about the astronaut life and the astronaut training. They have been graduated as astronauts, so do your business card as technology. Then we have a part about science, talking about the solar system, number-based 10 in math, and how can we find the distance, how can we read the big numbers. Then we have this project. Actually, I like it. It's a very simple one, but the girl are really an amazing girl. The way that she presents her project is really interesting. The way that she talk and think about her project is really amazing. She thought about herself that she's an astronaut. I am an astronaut. I have been graduated. She put her photo in the middle and said, okay, I'm going to measure the distance from the moon to the earth. Then she started to reflect from her perspective about the science content that she took it in order to do that, about the technology part, the engineering, and the math. This slides that she did actually has a strength and has a weakness, so we need to be careful about it. The strength of this that we found the student can go back and forth between the subjects, are able to connect between them and are able to separate between the subject. But the problem of that sometimes the students are failing to connect. They still see them as separate subjects and they cannot do the connection. So we need to be careful and we need to be sure that our students are covering this properly and they can go back and forth with the subjects and integrate between them. We have another project, models of waves, talking about the sound, connection math with the frequency, acoustic engineers, what they do, math and music. Then we have some activities for the students and coming out with the research and projects. Then we have some of the projects that shared in the What Works in KHADA. We have other projects in high school talking about the bridge construction, the smart city, and we have some projects that have been published in the news. Thank you so much.